The Steelers, Pittsburgh Steelers, win total at 8.5. Now, the big change here is Arthur Smith at OC, obviously. Actually opens up the season against his former team, the Falcons, on the road in Atlanta. So Arthur Smith gets a new job as the OC in Pittsburgh, and his first game is in his old stadium. Obviously, we know Matt Canada didn't work out yesterday. Last year, Canada was really struggling. The offense couldn't get moving. Now, at the second half of the season, we saw that run game get going, and I know that's what Prop Beaver wants to talk about because he thinks the Steelers' run game under Arthur Smith could be pretty impressive. Remember, Arthur Smith was the OC in 2019 in those Titans teams that went on the playoff runs with Derrick Henry. So you take into account that the Steelers were getting the run game going second half of the season. They first-round pick, drafted a run-blocking left tackle. They bring in Arthur Smith, who has shown us he could develop a rushing attack. He did it in Atlanta. He did it in Tennessee, won a couple playoff runs. Probably for the Steelers might be able to run the football this year.
I hope they could run. Jesus Christ. Wow, that was coming in hot right there. Sorry if I blew out some of your eardrums. Jesus Christ. I hope they can run the football because I don't know if they're going to be doing many other things with those two quarterbacks. Lots of questions there. So Arthur Smith, if you want to say some things about Arthur Smith as a head coach, I mean, Jesus Christ, that run in Atlanta was quite poor. But as an offensive coordinator, as a Titan, I mean, he made Ryan Tannehill a reputable quarterback. Remember in Miami, he was awful. And then he went to Tennessee, and he did wonders with him through the play-action game. And I think he could do just that with Russell Wilson if he's willing to play within the structure of the offense. And same thing with Justin Fields. But what I want to focus on is that running game, as you mentioned. The Steelers' offensive line, through the last two seasons, what they've done in the offseason is they've built a strong offensive line, not really much so in terms of pass protection, but what they have been doing is they've been building a strong offensive line in terms of running the ball. They now brought in Fautanu, which is even further strengthened that offensive line in terms of running the football. And you've got Jaylen Warren, who's about as explosive as it comes. Everybody loves themselves from Jaylen Warren. But even Najee Harris in the back half of last season was starting to look like his former self, that first-round pick that everybody was very hyped to draft his rookie season. And if they could just get that going, that run game, that foundational piece, I really think that could open up some things in the passing game. I know that they don't really have the best of pieces. I mean, George Pickens is really going to have to take that step if this offense is going to be anything. But I think that he can, and Freiermuth, he was really banged up last year. I mean, if you had him in fantasy, he was a nobody. But I think that Freiermuth is supremely talented. I think that he's going to remind people who he is this season. And I think the offense, I think it definitely has to take a step forward this season. Is it going to be anything phenomenal? No. But I think Arthur Smith and a few of these pieces reminds a lot of people who they are. This is talented. There's some talent on this team. Problem is, though, as we'll mention, is that brutal schedule. Jesus Christ.
To add on to that, we're talking about the Steelers offense, and we all know this was a bad offense last year, right? That's no secret. But if you look at the rushing numbers, I mean, they finished the season with the 16th ranked rushing attack, 12th in EPA per carry, 12th in rushing DVOA. On the road, top 10 rushing attack, 10th in rushing rank on the road, 9th in rush, 7th in DVOA. Run blocking, 16th in run blocking grades, 11th in adjusted line yards. So this was a top half rushing attack last season with Matt Canada for most of it. So now you add on that tackle, you bring in Arthur Smith, take the pressure of being a head coach off of his shoulders and let him just focus on moving the football and getting the rushing attack going that we know he's capable of building. I completely agree. Steelers are going to run the football. I will say, on the road in Atlanta, it's a tough start because the Falcons had one of the best run defenses in football last year. You could throw the ball on the Falcons, but starting the year on the road in Atlanta against that run defense, that's just really unlucky because that's one of the games we mentioned how the Steelers have a tougher schedule this year. That's one of the games, Atlanta, that's one of the games that you're going to want to win. And you get that game on the road, first game of the season. That's definitely not the best of luck, for sure. Should we go ahead and bring up? Oh, but you know what? Don't bring up the schedule yet. Let's talk about the defense. And I don't see any reason why this defense isn't great. Again, I mean, they were obviously one of the better defenses in football last year. Let me pull up their defensive stuff. Where is it? Okay, here we go. Pittsburgh defense, 7th in EPA per play, 7th in success rate, 7th in DVOA. Top 10 pretty much across the board defending the pass. They're also a great road defense last year. They were vulnerable to the run at times, but honestly, were they vulnerable to the run, or was it because their entire linebacking core was injured? You had Blake Martinez selling Pokemon cards or whatever he was doing. Quan Alexander, veteran. They tried to fill in some spots. Landon Roberts was the 3rd linebacker on the depth chart. He ended up being their main guy, and he got hurt as well. So now the Steelers come in with a healthy linebacking core with Patrick Queen added. So even though they did lose Blake Martinez, they added Patrick Queen, who was a beast for the Ravens last year. So even though if you look at the actual pieces that were there at the start of last season and then the pieces that are there this season, doesn't look like it's that much better, but you take into account the health and the injuries they dealt with in the linebacking core last year, this is a better unit. And secondary-wise, I mean, this is looking pretty good. Prop Beaver, any reason the Steelers' defense isn't top 10, maybe even top 5?
Maybe a reason they wouldn't be top 5 is secondary. In terms of like cornerback play, they did trade for Dante Jackson. That was the main piece they received back in the Deontay Johnson trade. Obviously, that they wanted to trade a bit of the offensive piece they had for that defensive piece. Their secondary was a bit lacking last season. I mean, Patrick Peterson, shell of himself. That was somebody they were trying to actually roll out there as a cornerback one. I mean, that's sorry. So they got Dante Jackson back. He's okay. I never thought he was that great. Joey Porter Jr. is going to continue to develop. I like him as a talent, but Cam Sutton is suspended for 8 games, so nickelback is a concern for me there. And besides Minkah Fitzpatrick, I don't really love that secondary. So secondary is a bit of concern for me there. But, I mean, overall, when you have a pass rush like the Steelers do, I mean, you're going to have a pretty damn good defense every year in and out. So, yeah, I mean, Steelers should be another top 10 defense another year, but as we're about to get to, this schedule is the main thing the thing that keeps me low on the Steelers. I mean, I have a little bit of optimism for this offense. I do like the defense, but when we get back to this to the schedule, I mean, it is tough.
When you add Cam Sutton back, by the way, after 8 weeks, that Steelers secondary actually, in my opinion, looks pretty good. 3 corners that I think they could rely on. And something I didn't mention. Last year, obviously, one of the linebackers that was injured, I mentioned their linebacking core was injured, Cole Holcomb. Apparently, they just got some bad news on him that he is not looking good. I'm reading almost definitely not going to be ready to start the season, and it's unsure if they're even going to keep him on the roster. Like, he might even get cut. So that would be a loss, but still, entering the season with the Landon Roberts and Patrick Queen healthy at inside linebacker is still significantly better than what they had last year with the injuries. So Steelers defense is going to be good. Maybe a little bit vulnerable to the run, but with those 2 linebackers there, I don't think so, honestly. All right, let's pull up the schedule. Let's say the Steelers are going to split one of those 2 road games. Atlanta at Denver. Let's give them one of them. I don't think they're going to start 2-0 2 road games. Especially with a new OC and a new quarterback. That's kind of crazy. So I think they'll get one of those games. So let's put them at 1 win heading into week 3. Home against the Chargers. Let's give them a win there, right? So that's 2 wins. After that, on the road in Indy. That's tough. See, what I'm willing to do is give them one of those 2 road games. On the road in Indy, on the road in Las Vegas. I'll give them 1. Okay, so that puts them at 2 wins. Home against Dallas, probably a loss. Okay. So that means we're at 2 wins heading into week 7. Home against the Jets. Yeah. They'll beat the Giants. I'll give them a 3rd win for the Giants. Home against the Jets is tough. And they'll beat the Commanders. So, all right. So let's give them a loss to the Jets. That puts them at 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wins heading into week 11. Baltimore, and this is where it gets crazy. Prop Beaver, can you zoom in and show them the Steelers schedule from week 11 on? This is fucked up. This is like, yo, watch how the Steelers have to finish their season. This is crazy. This is the end of the Steelers season. So we're saying at this point they could be at 6, 7 wins, maybe. I mean, probably 6 is more, 5, 6 wins at this point. You're talking Baltimore, at Cleveland, at Cincinnati, Cleveland, at Philly, at Baltimore, Kansas City, Cincinnati. That is a gauntlet to finish your season. I mean, I guess it's good that they have those games at the end. Give Arthur Smith and Russell Wilson or Justin Fields, whoever's going to be quarterback, time to be playing their best football by the time they get into this. But that is crazy. So the Steelers better be 7-2 by the time they hit this point in the season. Basically, given the end of the year, I'm leaning towards under 8.5. Honestly, I mean, I guess with the price being at -160, so are the odds makers. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I almost have to, because just based off what the odds makers are doing too here. I mean, it's weird because I feel like I'm under on like almost half the division. I mean, look at what the odds makers were doing with the Browns price yesterday. I feel like I almost would have to take the under on the Browns too, just based off that price. I mean, the Browns won 11 games last year, and it was almost like charity night, I felt like, with the Browns over price, right? I mean, it felt like such a cheap price. I believe it was -130 for the Browns over 8.5 wins. I mean, what? And if Deshaun Watson is even half of what he used to be as a quarterback in this league, I mean, the Browns are just like sleepwalking over that total. And then this one right here, right? You've got Mike Tomlin, who's never had a losing season as a coach. I mean, he's never gone below 500. You're now getting this man who's done this 17 times in a row at +135. Just crazy to me. So I listen, as a true contrarian, I would have to take the under here. But it kills me a bit because I do, as a contrarian, as I just said, I do think that Arthur Smith, everybody hates that man. I feel like he could run a pretty decent offense this year. So yeah.
Look, this is a mistake a lot of people make in the off season, entering the season. Everyone's looks at the changes to rosters, and it's very easy to declare a team will get better, right? This team's going to get better. Look, they added this guy. This team's going to get better. Look, they added this guy. But the truth is, in order to let's say you want to put the Steelers at 9 wins, that means you got to choose a solid 8, 9 teams in the AFC that are going to finish below them. And you're going to really struggle to find 8 teams in the AFC worse than the Steelers. You're going to really struggle. I mean, the AFC is a lot of good teams. They all can't win 9 games, guys. So, I mean, who are the Steelers going to be better than? The Dolphins? The Bills? The Jets? The Bengals? The Browns? The Ravens? I mean, you can make an argument the Steelers are the worst team in their division. You think the entire division is going to win 9 games? I mean, in the AFC South, they're probably better than... not probably. They're better than the Titans. Definitely. Colts, I mean, that's a toss-up. The Colts beat the shit out of the Steelers last year, and they only got better. I mean, it's not like the Colts, I'm pretty sure they came into Pittsburgh. Oh, no, it might have been in Indy. But I remember I had the Colts in that game. They beat the shit out of the Steelers, and the Colts only got healthier. They only got better. So, okay, if you like the Steelers to win 9 games, show me the 8 AFC teams they're better than, because that's what you need. They're winning 9 games, they're finishing in the top half of the AFC. So you got to show me 8 AFC teams that they are better than. And good luck doing that. The Raiders, the Broncos, the Chargers. I'll probably give you those 3. Give you the Titans. That's 4. I'll give you the Patriots. That's 5. After that, we're drawing at straws here to find the teams that the Steelers will finish above. I think the Steelers would be the 6th team on that list as far as ranking the AFC teams from the bottom. So, I mean, let me look at the comments. Did anyone throw any suggestions out there? Colts are good. TWD. Exactly. The Colts beat the shit out of the Steelers last year, and you can make an argument they improved more than the Steelers did. Wilson comeback tour. I mean, from what I'm reading, what's his name? Justin Fields looks really good in camp. Andy just sent me an Instagram post about that. Apparently, he's throwing darts out there in camp. Justin Fields. All right. So, yeah, Steelers under 8.5 wins for me. I actually wouldn't be surprised if they land on 7. I think they clean under. So, yep. Let's talk college football. Prop Beaver. Well, actually, you're not leaving. You're going to stay right there. Yes. So, yep.
Goodbye, folks. Have a wonderful day.